welcome to the Monocurl tutorial series. This is going to be a video series where I explain some of the core concepts behind Monocurl for the people that learn better from videos. I will say though that the actual details, the nitty-gritty, that's going to be only in the main lessons. I'll skim over those in the video series, but I think that these are still helpful to get a high-level idea, and then whenever you do need the details, you can always reference the main lesson material. With that being said, let's actually talk about what Monocurl is. So this is just an intro video highlighting some cool stuff you can do. And part of my motivation for creating Monocurl was that maybe we could be able to incorporate some of this stuff in slideshows and really convey our ideas better. So let's actually take a minimal working example. I think it's helpful to look at an example even before we know much about Monocurl, just to kind of get a flavor of how it looks like. So this is what we have, and just fading it out. But we can kind of already get a glimpse of, hey, this is how I define meshes, this is how I define animations, and this is another animation I could do. Obviously, we also get into the details, but that should kind of give you some sort of sense of what Monocurl is about. Alright, so there's two ideas that form Monocurl, and it's thinking about, if we want to think about animation, what's a math perspective and what's a traditional, more video editor perspective. And from a math perspective, we have that animations are really just a mapping from time to mesh space, or images really, and more specifically how we have interpolation, where we have several key states and we want to interpolate between them. So as you see more and more Monocurl, just have in the back of your mind, how is this about going through different discrete states and then continuously mapping between them, right? So this and this, these are two discrete states, but then we want to continuously interpolate between them. Oh, and important remark, a lot of Monocurl is heavily inspired from Manim. That's where a lot of it was based off of. Alright, so that's one perspective, but I think another equal contribution was, how can we make Monocurl based off a video editor? How can we bring in some of those concepts in and make the experience more familiar? And for that, well, for one, the GUI just looks like a video editor. We have a timeline, we have a viewport. Of course, we do have the editor, which isn't as common, but same idea. That's one thing, but the other thing that is perhaps less hidden is that when actually designing the language, I kind of wanted to have properties somewhat reminiscent of how properties are defined in video editors, where you have that tree and you have properties and you have a tree list. And I think in video editors it's very clear and very easy to reason about what the properties of something are, and I thought it might be interesting to incorporate that into some sort of scripting language. Alright, well now I'll just go through a high-level overview of how Monocurl actually works. So at a very high level, Monocurl has a custom designed scripting language that makes it easy to interpolate between objects, and that's sort of what I was talking about over here, is that we just have to give the key states, and the language is designed so that it's very, very easy to interpolate between them, which is nice because we only have to give two states. Then, to actually create objects we see on screen, such as the circle, we have primitive meshes and then we have operators. So we have some primitive meshes, and then we can do some operations on them to create more complex objects. To actually have motion, we have animations, and the other thing that's somewhat more hidden is that we divide, Monocurl is divided into a series of slides. So I can create a slide over here, and in each slide we'll have a set of animations associated with it. The nice thing about this is that now whenever we have a video, it's very easy to convert it into a slideshow, or vice versa, right? So we have one thing and it does both. And of course, this is a high-level overview, so don't feel that everything has to make sense right now. But regardless, I will say again that the video's going to be a high-level overview, but if you want to actually get into the details, I do recommend reading the lessons. Alright, in the next video, we'll talk about the actual Monocurl language.